Hey gorgeous soul, I'm Zoe and welcome to the oasis.state podcast, a space where we decode life's mysteries and embrace the what the fuck moments that make it magical. Let this podcast be your trusted companion on your wild journey of transformation, healing and soul expansion. Together, we'll dive deep, celebrate our technicolor existence and turn life's chaos into pure magic. Hello, gorgeous soul. Welcome back to another epi. So I've got some wonderful news. I've just entered such a beautiful, abundant, peaceful season of my life. And I would love to share how I got from, the chaos that is your life, your old life burning to the ground, to the nice, peaceful, restful, easy energy of the new chapter coming into fruition. So if you listen to one of my previous episodes, I popped it up maybe like 2 or 3 episodes ago. But basically, I felt the call this year to burn my old life to the ground. I left my full-time job and jumped straight into building my business. I moved out of my house. I decided to move from Northern Rivers back up to the Gold Coast. I was just feeling like the energies of the area, the change. I was feeling the duality of them. My long-term partner moved over to another country to start his business, and we did long distance for a little while, but it was, then it became obvious that we needed to end the relationship and our time was done. So I went through, So there's a few different pieces of the pie there. I quit my job, ended a relationship, like a long-term relationship, and moved out of my house and moved like an hour into like a new community. And it was pretty wild. Obviously, I don't think I need to give more of a disclaimer than that, but a huge trust fall. I think when you think about doing all these things, you think that you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll create a safety net on the other side so that when I, pull the trigger on all these things, it'll be like, I'll know everything that's going to happen on the other side of it and I'll have this safety net and everything will be light and easy. But then it doesn't work like that, because you have to sit in that fire of your life. When your life's burning to the ground, you have to sit in that fire and become the version of yourself that is ready for and worthy of. Well, you're always worthy, but you do that work to remember your worthiness. Becoming that version of yourself that's worthy and ready and has the capacity for and everything that's needed of you for that new chapter. And you think like, oh my God, but this new chapter is so wonderful and amazing. But it's like, but yes, you need to become that upgraded, incredible version of yourself. And it's not that you need to reject the version of yourself that is in the old chapter. It's an evolution. That's the word I'm looking for. Like, you need to become the evolved version of yourself that is ready for that new chapter. So sometimes you just have to, jump into the unknown with both feet. So like I said, if I went back to past versions of Zoz who started feeling these inklings of burning her old life to the ground, I'd be like, oh, well, that's fine. I'll quit my job, but I'll have all of these other forms of income lined up and like all of this money in my savings before I do that. And then one morning I woke up and just had the biggest intuitive hit to quit my job. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to do this. And then, having the intuitive hit for the other things like, and ending the relationship and moving out. And, moving out of my place it was a lot of stability, basically, like losing, the familiarity and the stability of the job, the paychecks, the relationship, and the house and everything. So when you're just following those intuitive hits and you realize like, oh, but I don't have everything lined up ready to go. It's because you have to sit in that fire of the unknown and do the trust fall to evolve to the version of yourself that is ready for this new and peaceful chapter. And I can say that because I've literally just lived and breathed that exact sentence. So, that's what I mentioned in the previous episode, and you just got another little disclaimer. And when I recorded that previous episode, I actually mentioned that at that point, I think it had been weeks and weeks and weeks of me looking for a house. So that was another thing that I didn't expect of breaking my lease. You immediately think, okay, well, I've broken this lease. I'll move out of this rental. And by the time I move out of this rental, I'll also know where the next place that I'm moving to. The universe for me this time around was like, psych, that's not actually going to happen. So I to the best of my ability, tried to have a new rental organized by the time I moved out of my old one, and nothing would stick. It was absolutely wild. So, and I don't think it's one of those things like, well, I should have tried harder, I should have this or should have that. Like, it was it just felt so out of my control trying to line up a place. And now looking back on it, I'm like, that is the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because I have, had to learn all of these lessons and surrender and let go and learn to receive and blah, 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 blah in this journey of not having a place. So when I was coming to the last few days of being in my old rental and like, oh shit, I don't actually think I'm going to have the new one lined up in time to literally move, I was like, that's fine. I'm going to put my stuff in storage, and I've got a van and I can couch surf and just like have a little bit of a holiday. And I'm in my head at that time, I was like, oh, it would be like a week and then I'll just like get my stuff out of storage and I'll find the place. Psych. I think it's been about, so what was that? That was the start of October. And amazing news is that I've finally locked in a studio. Well, what's that? So 6 weeks before October, October, November, December. Oh my God. So it's like the 3 to 4 month mark of not having a home, not having an indication of a home or anything. It was absolutely wild and just completely had to throw me. Yeah, it had to throw me. That's the best way to say it. So yeah, it was pretty wild. And in that time, like I said, I would couch surf with friends. I'd park at my van out the front of theirs. I was renting out people's spare rooms, etc. And it has been the most beautiful journey of basically healing this hyper independence in me that I didn't know I had. And I would walk around being a self-proclaimed lone wolf and thinking that I've got it all together, and that, you know, me having all of this independence and not needing anybody was actually, you know, a sign of a balanced, evolved human being. And I honestly feel like the reason I couldn't lock in a rental is because I had to learn that lesson, that it's actually, that story is incorrect. That by being a lone wolf, you are not going to get ahead in life, or you're not going to get as far ahead in life as you can. And I love, love, love this season of life that I'm in now, where I'm like, and in that previous episode, I also mentioned that this big, deep spiritual cocoon that I needed to go into for a few years, that was activated when my dad passed away, and I had a really complicated relationship with him, so I had to like go within and do all of that work. So yes, there are seasons in your life when you need to be a lone wolf, and I walked around with that badge of honor. And then I genuinely believe that the universe did not bring a rental into my own rental in my own space into my life until I learnt the lessons that now I'm in this season of community and connection, and deeply, deeply realizing that I cannot get as far in life now without these people by my side. And it's just been so, so beautiful. So yeah, what was obviously like me sharing spaces with people meant that I had to connect with people, because I think symbolically having a home means I would spend a lot of time by myself. Like I said, it was necessary while I was in that spiritual cocoon, but I needed to come back out of my shell, and I would have to be in people's spaces and in their energy and connecting with them. And I had to show up exactly as I was around them at all times, because I couldn't go home and hibernate for like 6 days and then come back out when I fucking felt like it, you know? So it was a really, really wild journey of dissolving the hyper independence in me. And I am so, so thankful for that, because I love the connections that I have now. I love this sense of community that I have around me. And it was a really big lesson in learning all of the blocks that I had with my receptivity. So, you know, we get really in our masculine and we go out there and we try to take this action and manifest things and bring them into our lives. But my feminine side which is the receivership side, was so out of whack, because again, I was like wearing this badge of being a lone wolf, and I was like, I'm so hyper independent, I don't need anything, because I'd go out and get stuck in my masculine and be like, I'm going to do all these things for myself and I don't need to rely on anyone. And by not having a space for the last 3 months, and my own space for the last few months, it's made me have to look at the blocks I had around receptivity, and that's also like a worthiness piece there. So I've never in my adult life had to ask my friends and family or people around me for so many things so frequently. And it was like this wound that kept getting ripped open again and again and again. And on the surface level, all I was asking was like, hey, can you look after my dog for a few days? And everyone met me with so much love and compassion, and no one made me feel bad about asking for these things. But this self-proclaimed lone wolf it was actually physically fucking painful to ask for those things. And I just had to tear that wound open again and again and again and again to come back into that place of connection and of receptivity and knowing that I'm worthy of asking people for help. So all I was doing was like, hey, can I park up on the couch? I actually never slept on a couch, but hey, can I, stay in the spare room, etc. And everyone gave me so much feedback about how wonderful I was sharing the space with them. They were like, you're bringing in a good vibe, and thanks for making muffins, and thanks for cleaning up, and thanks for helping out with my kid, and all of that stuff. So I'm getting this constant confirmation that everything's okay. But it was so fucking uncomfortable to ask people for things. And I realized that I would not call in a home until I looked at this wound, because I think in my the protective state that my ego was going into, I was like, it's okay, this is only temporary, you just need to find your place, and then you'll just never need to ask anyone for anything ever again. And I remember I woke up one morning, and when you're really in the thick of that spiritual lesson, and the moment you wake up, it is complete heaviness and density, and you're just like, for fuck's sake, like you're not even conscious yet, you don't even know what day or year it is, and you just feel heavy. I was waking up like that again and again and again, and all of these complex emotions and unresolved emotions were coming up through this trigger of having to open up and receive and ask people for things and not be so hyper independent. So I realized that I was in this protective story, or my ego was telling the story of like, it's okay, it's only temporary, you don't have to ask people for things forever, and then eventually you'll never have to feel this discomfort anymore. And then I realized, fuck, I don't think I'm going to call in my studio until I get comfortable with this experience. And like I said, on a surface level, it's a pretty boring thing. All I'm doing is asking my loved ones for support, but it was actually grating at that wound. It was grating at my soul. I was like, oh my God. So I finally sat with what it was, why there was so much discomfort in asking people for help. And there was a few things that came up. So for all the women listening to this will definitely be something you can probably resonate with, and men, I don't know. I feel like in this society, we've gone into this weird, like, hyper independence thing. But the thing that was making me feel uncomfortable about asking people for a roof over my head or just support or, whatever, was that I was asking too much. I was taking up too much space. I was asking too much of people. And then I was like, okay, well, if I have beautiful loved ones around me and I ask them something and I trust that they can decide what they have the capacity to do and offer me and support me with, why is it such a big deal? Like, why am I holding on to this story that I'm too much and I'm taking up too much space? It's like I needed to let go of that story and then just trust that the people that I'm asking for the support for would have the ability to tell me what their capacity was. And then that's sort of like two sides of a coin as well. So that was that, okay, I'm too much, and I'm going to trust that people are, can tell me what their capacity is. And then there was also this underlying fear of rejection. And in my mind, it's like, well, what if they say no? And then it's like, but then if you look at it from a higher vibration and a heart-led vibration of what if they say no, it's like, so what? It's like they have the ability to have that sacred no. And it's like, I would think about, that when I'm in my that wounded space and in my ego of like, what if they say no? And it was like a physical threat that they would say no. And then when I could shift to a different perspective of what if they say no, it's like, so what? It took all of this power away from people potentially saying no. And some people did say no, I can't look after Clifford or this or this or that. And it was so funny sitting in that no and realizing the magnitude of that fear of rejection. And then I get to the other side of the no and it doesn't feel like anything. It didn't. And in my mind, I'm just saying like, but did you die? Like someone would say no and I would realize that everything was fine, and that them saying no is not an indication that they love me any less. Them saying no is not an indication that I have asked too much, that I'm taking up too much space. And it was a beautiful, wonderful exchange of a boundary being set, and then I could pivot and, you know, change my plans. And it was an invitation for me to be more adaptable and rely on different people in my community. You know, so I just wanted to share that for all the recovering hyper independent people out there. If you ask, you're not going to die if you ask the people that you love for something, and if they can't actually support you in that way or provide whatever you've asked for, you will not die. I have physical evidence that you do not die, because I am still alive here recording this podcast after asking people for things and they've said no. So that was really empowering to actually lean into that discomfort rather than just like I said, ripping off the Band-Aid all the time and just being like this I was just like melting all the time. It was so hard handling all those big emotions and just telling myself like, oh, this is a temporary experience. It's fine. I'll move into my place soon and I won't need people as much. Ew. Like when you say that story out loud, you realize like, oh shit, I'm missing the lesson here. So then when I actually started really leaning into why it felt so uncomfortable to ask for people things, I was able to pull up those two stories that did not serve me anymore. So the story of being too much, and then that fear of rejection as well. And you actually laugh. Like it feels so liberating and relaxing and lighthearted when you actually get to the bottom of it and you experience these things from the view of your soul, that higher view of like, oh, everything's fine. And there was something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, another story that I brought to the surface by actually leaning into why there was so much discomfort in asking my loved ones for things was because I was holding on to this sneaky story that if I was asking people for support, I had somehow failed. Oh, how does that feel? How does that feel for all of the recovering hyper-independent people and all those other lone wolves out there? That was a really sneaky one for me. And I just knew that this discomfort and these situations kept playing out where I had to continually ask people for help because I had to peel back that story. And then when you say it out loud, like the other two things that I peeled up, you realize like that doesn't even make sense. Like in what way am I failing as a human being by needing other people around me and needing their support? Like it was absolutely wild to really dig that one up. So, and it's just another beautiful invitation to shift from your relationship with quotation marks failure into an invitation to create your own sense of success. And now I can add another definition of success for me is how wonderful is it that I have beautiful loved ones around me that care, that can support me and help me when I need to call on them. Like what? What a pivot. What do you mean? So that was really fun. So I just wanted to mention, like I said, when I got to the crux of the discomfort of that journey of needing to lean on people again and again and again, and I had like this funny feeling that like life is not going to bring my beautiful new home into my awareness until I learn these lessons. And that's exactly how it played out. So to end this episode, I want to tell you how the actual process of how I've manifested my beautiful new home that, was honestly way better than I could have ever imagined. And it wasn't in the way that I thought it would be, and that's always the case. So hold on, let me just take a sip of my iced coffee because I want to. Yum. So I followed my nose throughout my journey of like couch surfing and, staying at friends and stuff like that. And my friend posted that they had a room available on like one of the rental social media groups, but he was like, I'm looking for a male that's working full time. I was like, okay, well, how about a female that works for herself and has a dog? So I saw the ad and I was like, fuck, that feels really good in my body. I want to message him, but then umming and ahhing about it for a few hours of like, no, but he wants someone else, like you don't even fit the mold, etc. And by that afternoon, I just got so sick of umming and ahhing. I was like, it's like coming back to that rejection piece. What is wrong with just asking, hey, would you be interested in living with me? And if he says no, will you die? So I messaged him. And he said no. He said, fuck. So I've really been thinking about you and I really want to help you out. But I do I'm really feeling drawn to living with a male that's working full time because he works for himself as well. And it's a really small apartment. And then it just got us going on a really nice open conversation. And I was like, cool. Thank you so much for replying. Thank you so much for telling me exactly how you feel. And then I reflected on, well, I wouldn't want you to stick your neck out anyway to provide me with a room, because I want it to be a mutually exclusive, not mutually exclusive, sorry. I want it to be there to be mutual enthusiasm about us living together, rather than this whole knight in shining armor, damsel in distress energy. Because in the long run, to me, that would build up bitterness and resentment, because he would only let me rent the room as a favor to me. So does that make sense? Like, there felt like an imbalance with the intention of me moving in. So that was really lovely. And we just had like a very beautiful conscious conversation and just felt recognized, and yeah, it was really beautiful. So I went about my life, and I think like 1 or 2 days later, he messages me and he's like, Zoz, I've locked in the dude that's going to move in. He's like, but he can't move in for like a few weeks. Did you want to come and rent the room in the meantime? And he lives like spitting distance from the ocean in Currumbin, and it's a beautiful light-filled space with a big kitchen, like basically ticking all of these manifestation boxes. And I was just like, holy shit, yes. So I messaged him and I was like, yep, thank you so much for thinking of me. Stoked you found a long-term person, and thank you for offering me something in the meantime. Because like I said, that's what I've literally been doing for the last 3 months, is following my nose and getting all of these little house sit offers and spare room rentals and, park my van in their driveway offers. And I've literally just been piecing together where I'm going to live like a few days at a time and a few weeks at a time. So really, really grateful for that opportunity. And I moved into the spare room, and I was, again, just jumping online every day, going on those Facebook groups, messaging people. And to be honest, it was a really horrible energy. I was really stressed out. Like, the whole house hunting experience and the rental hunting experience was really starting to stress me out. I was not enjoying the process of jumping online every day and messaging people and just selling yourself like, hi, I'm Zoe. I've got a dog and I work for myself. Can I come check out the place? And as well, it was like you would jump on these ads on the Facebook group, and there's like 100 people that have commented on the room, and it's just like overpriced rooms that are super tiny. It was a really demotivating process. But I was sort of stuck in this scarcity mindset of like, fuck, like I need to push, I need to, keep going, and I'll find my dream place. So I was living in this incredible temporary location and filling up my cup just with my day-to-day, but then I'm still slogging away looking for this rental through avenues and processes that didn't make me feel good. So if that's not a disclaimer that I wouldn't find my rental that way, like, I don't know what is. But at the time, like, I'm saying this as current Zoz, and I want to go back and tell past Zoz, like, you should have just walked away from those from those processes. But when you get into that survival mode and that scarcity mode, you're like, fuck, there's something I'm doing wrong. I need to find a rental. So yeah, I was doing that. And then because we were living spitting distance from the beach, I was going down to the beach every morning and doing sunrise. And then I would sit on the dune and have my journal and my bone broth and, have a fucking cutesy as fuck fairy morning. And then the northerlies kicked in, and the dune that I would usually sit on, it was like completely windswept one morning. So I went like around the pandanus trees a bit more and sat in this different spot where I'd noticed these older men were sitting there every morning with their dogs and their cups of coffee. And in the process of me sitting closer to them, they actually started talking to me that day and actually giving me a bit of shit, to be honest. They were like, I was journaling, and they're like, oh, you're writing song lyrics in there, love, like just being classic old boys, and I was just like very, very jock sort of energy. And I'm like in my little fairy dress with like my cacao and like my bone broth, and I've got my fairy cards. And I just like looked up at them and I was like, no, actually I'm in the process of looking for a rental. So I was just journaling my feelings about that. And then we got into this actually really lovely conversation. And just by me sort of having to pivot from the dune down to where they were sitting, I actually started seeing them every morning. And we just talk about, and I said, oh, I've got a dog, but my dog's staying with my friends in Kira. And they slowly would just start learning a bit more about my life, and I was learning about them. So, and no, there was no obligation at all. Like I wasn't even thinking about a rental or anything. I was just like going down to the beach, filling up my cup, connecting with the locals, and I was really grateful for the sense of community. So yeah, I just kept doing that every day for the few weeks that I was at this beautiful Currumbin house with my friend. And then, funnily enough, on the last day that I was staying there and I was about to relocate to Kirra, so there's no way I was going to go and do sunrises in Currumbin, you know, Larry, one of the old boys, like pulls me off to the side. He's sitting there with his whole Saturday crew. And he was like, Zoz, he's like, how much rent do you want to pay? And I was like, literally weak at the knees. I was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh, Larry, you know, just depends on the place. And I'm just like trying to be fully polite, but on the inside I'm fucking doing cartwheels. Like, what do you mean? And he lets me know that his neighbors who live across the road have a studio in underneath their house that they want to rent out, and they didn't want to advertise it because they, as like me, were feeling quite resistant to the whole rental application process online, because it's like a very dog eat dog world at the moment. There's a lot going on with the rental markets and everything. And Larry's like, he thought of me because I'd mentioned a few weeks earlier, oh, I'm only staying with my friend temporarily, I'm looking for a place. But when I mentioned that, I didn't have the intention of, I hope this bloke fucking offers me a place. And like I said, there was weeks in between me once mentioning that I was looking for a place to him offering me the place. But I laugh at how much ease and flow is in this process, because like I said, I was punishing myself every day and going online and trying to find a place, and it just didn't feel good. Whereas me just going down to the beach every morning, being a fairy and connecting with Larry and John and our dogs, and I was meeting all these other locals, that felt really good every day. I loved that morning routine. So on the last day I'm there, he lets me know about his his neighbor's place, and I was just so elated and excited. And the universe actually decided to play a little bit of a game with me, because he's an older man, he's in his 70s, and he's not very tech savvy. So he said to me, all right, we'll come back down on another day and I'll write their number on a piece of paper and you can call them. And I won't get into the details of it because they're not super interesting, but basically I had to go back and forth a little bit and practice so much patience to get these people's contact numbers. And then I got a number that didn't work. And then once I connected with Leanne, who is the landlord of the property, I still had to wait like 6 days to go over and see the place and meet them, because of like all of these like weird little roadblocks kept coming in. And it just felt like the universe was being really cheeky with me and inviting me to just be present and be patient. Whereas I like haven't had a home for months, and I'm like transmuting so much of this soul's evolution to become this beautiful version of myself for this new chapter. And I'm like, I just want my own house, and I'm shifting through doubt and victimhood mentality, etc. And then I'm like on the final hurdle, and then I'm like going down to the beach to see Larry, and he's like, oh, sorry love, forgot the number, come back tomorrow. And I'm like on my knees like, oh my God, let me have it, So eventually from, the moment I find out about the studio, it's maybe like another week, 2 weeks. And then I finally go over and check out this gorgeous, amazing studio that is, as soon as I got to the property, I was like, this is my home. I'm home. Like, what the actual fuck? Leanne and Don, my landlords, were amazing. Like, I could rave on about it. But I finally, after all of these months, found the perfect home. And I couldn't believe how beautiful and amazing the process was. And I think it's just a reminder for all of us that if you are wanting something in your manifestation journey really, really badly, but you're not enjoying the process of calling it in, then I would suggest that you pivot and try something else, or it might be a time of surrender and just trusting. So that was really interesting and a really big reminder for me. And I really hope that when I call in future things and different rounds of chapters of life and manifestations and stuff, that I will remember this rental journey so much, because there's just lesson after lesson after lesson in it. But I think the take home point that I want to make now, because I've been talking for like a while and I'm ready to jump off, is if you guys are on your journey of manifesting and you're not enjoying it, then I'm going to say it's not the processes of it. And the thing was, when Larry had told me about the studio, but I hadn't locked in the details yet, like as in gotten the contact details, met them, locked it in, instead of like keeping my options open, as soon as I realized how good that manifestation process felt to get my amazing studio, I jumped off the Facebook groups. I closed down my flatmate's account and everything, because the duality of it, like realizing how uncomfortable that whole process was and how limited I felt by doing that. I was like, oh shit, I've been doing it wrong. Whereas going down to the beach every day and connecting with Larry and John and just like, and the ease of it and the flow of it, it was so evident to me that I had just been wasting my time sort of treading water in these more traditional ways of manifesting, you know? So yeah, I just want that to be the take home point, guys, is like, if you're trying to manifest something and you're not enjoying the process, then it's not the right process. And take some time, recenter yourself, because I know your current circumstances can get you really confused, because that's the thing. I'm like, couch surfing and going between spare rooms all the time. And you get so caught up in your current reality and what currently is, that your vibration and your standard for the manifestation that you're bringing in goes down, 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 down. And you're like, oh, I just hope I can get anything. I just fucking want anything, you know? Whereas I was just so grateful for that opportunity to sort of center myself, to have positive, supportive people around me, reminding myself to think outside the box and see things from different angles. And then I was able to call in my incredible new studio, which I haven't moved into yet, so I can't bloody wait for that. But I really, really want to remember that process of calling it in. So if you're at that point of like, fuck, I'm not enjoying the process, but I really want this thing, I invite you to step into your feminine, get into a place of surrender, take some time, and try and turn down the volume on your current environment. So whether that's going for a walk or meditating or talking to a friend that will uplift you, because that's really necessary to bring up that vibration to call in that manifestation. So that's what I did, but I didn't realize was happening. But now I can look back at it on retrospect. I was like, oh, okay, I stopped and centered myself and then found the right process and identified the right process to call in my manifestation, you know? Oh. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, guys. I hope this episode was uplifting for you. I love, love, love this journey. I've burnt my life to the ground, and now I'm in this beautiful season of this new chapter as this amazing evolved version of me. And like, the limit does not exist, you know, like this is not an end goal. It's just time to celebrate one of the peaks that I'm in. And then, you know, at some point I'll go back into a valley and do all these big lessons and life will fall apart for it to come back together. But I just love getting to celebrate when it comes together, and that juicy, nourishing, exciting, liberating energy that is the new chapter coming in. Like, it's like the sunrise is on the horizon. I'm like, yes, let's go. And yeah, I'm so grateful for all the lessons that I've learned from the process of burning my old life to the ground to identifying this new one and seeing that that sunrise come on the horizon. So I'm sure I'm going to record like 50 more podcasts about the lessons, because it's deep, it's important, it's so vital, these journeys, even though they're so fucking uncomfortable. You're literally crying every day, because that's what I was doing. I was laughing, I was crying, I was doing everything. But I just love getting to this retrospective point where you're like, oh, it was all worth it. All right, love you guys. Bye. Hey, beautiful soul. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Oasis.state podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend. It means the world to me knowing that everyone who needs this medicine and magic can lovingly receive it. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out via social media, my website, or email. Can't wait to connect, and until then, sending you heaps of love.